Lauren Hutchinson from Manchester Rocks with the one and only Mr. Steve VAI. Welcome to Manchester, Steve.
Thank you. Very nice to be here.
Have you managed to see any of our lovely towns so far? I know you only got in this morning.
Well, we got in this morning, the sun was out, and my wife's with me, so we decided to take a walk, and we went outside, and the sun wasn't out. So it got very, very cold, and we walked down to the corner, and we turned the corner and got hit by a gust of freezing wind and said, nope, we won't be walking around Manchester today.
Yeah, give that one a miss.
Yeah, I've been around the town quite a bit, though.
Right, oh good. So last date of the UK tour, so
yeah.
How's the reception been so far?
Well, it's been great, you know, it's 7 shows in 7 days.
Tiring?
Not really, you know, because I love touring and I prefer to do shows than not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favourite bit about touring?
Well, you know, the day is broken down into segments, you know, and I like each segment. You know, first on tour I get to sleep as much as I want, you know. I could sleep 8 or 9 hours, you know, which I never get to do at home. And then I get up and I actually get a couple of hours before I have to go to work, you know, and I can walk around. Sometimes I take a bicycle, or you know, sometimes I'll just sit and answer some emails or something. But then the day starts usually at 3 when I do press for an hour, which is, you know, it's nice, it's good, you know, and then I do from 4 to 5. We do the special premium package, the Evo package, where certain fans come and I spend about an hour with them.
Right, fantastic.
And then 5 to 6:30 is sound check, and we don't even need to do sound check, but we like doing it, you know, and we usually just jam and I record it, and sometimes you get something really interesting and sometimes it's crap, you know. And then there's the show prep, which is really nice because we're with the band and you know, go through your little rituals, and then the show is like, you know, a highlight. That's like the real. It's just exciting, you know. I enjoy it more now than ever.
Right.
Yeah, and then after the show, there's like a little meet and greet, and then one of my favorite parts of the day is being on the bus with the band, because we're like a family. You know, everybody's very close. You know, when you're living with people for months and months and months in a small environment, you know, there's no secrets at sea.
Well, I can imagine.
Yeah, and so you support each other, and it's just very comfortable and really nice, and you know, usually the people in my entourage don't have any bad habits or anything, you know. So it's really nice.
Oh, fantastic. So obviously the tour's in support of Story of Light. Talk to me about the inspiration behind the album.
Well, the record itself, at face value, is not so different than, you know, the way I make my other records. You know, there's a lot of diversity.
Yeah. Yeah,
my fans have come to like the diversity that I'm so eccentrically attracted to. But you know, one of the great things about being an artist and making records or doing anything artistic is you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
You know, there's no rules. You know, the only rules that there are the ones you set up in your head. So when I set out to do my last studio record, Real Illusions, I had this very in-depth kind of a story that I wanted to express over a series of records. And I was just, you know, I always try to think, how can I do something that's a little unconventional, but still accessible and enjoyable for the people that like the kind of thing I do. And I thought I would create a series of records that would be installments of this story, or I should say the music that is depictive of characters and elements in the story.
Yeah.
But it's very cryptic because to understand the story, there's not really a lot of, I'm not giving so much. It's just like in the liner notes, a little bit here and there, and stuff like that. It unfolds, you know. And the songs aren't in the right order or anything. And then eventually, when the 3 records are out, I want to do a quadrilogy.
All right.
Yeah, like 4 records, and it would be all the music from the previous records with some lyrics and the place of melody and all the songs in the right order. And then, you know, another record worth of glue and narrative. So it would be a very linear listening experience. It's very different to a degree than the records themselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought, hey, why not?
Well, no, definitely.
It's
I mean,
a life
it sounds,
project.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fantastic. Can't wait for the next instalment.
Thank you.
One thing I did notice recently, you did a collaboration with 2 cellos.
Yeah.
Wondering how that came about, slightly off the wall.
Well, Bob Ezrin, who produced the project, is a friend of mine.
All right.
So I had heard about them, but I didn't really know much about them. And he said, you know, do you want to do this solo and play guitar on Highway to Hell? And I thought, you know, with these two cellos, and I thought, you know, a lot of times when people are mixing classical instruments with rock instruments, they just don't hit the mark, you know.
Right.
It's just, the two worlds really collide, you know. But I had a lot of faith in my friend Bob Ezrin, and he sent me some videos, and I saw them, and I said, oh, okay, I get this, I know what they're doing, and it was really cool, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. So they sent me the track, and I listened to it, and I thought, yeah, I think I could do this. You know, I think it works. I don't think it's cheesy. You know, and they're pretty popular. I come to find out.
Yeah,
they sell a lot
I'm
of
a fan
records and
myself.
stuff. Yeah. So it happened, and I had a lot of fun. You know, it was good.
Oh, fantastic. A lot of our readers, sort of aspiring guitarists, and you are an inspiration for a lot of our readers. What advice would you give to anyone who's just starting out at the moment?
Well, find what it is that's most exciting to you about the guitar, or the music in your head, whatever it is. What kind of music, you know, what kind of goal do you have? What is that thing that when you think about really excites you, and then just throw yourself into it.
Definitely. I mean, great advice there. I'll hand you over to Chris. Chris has got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Right on.
But thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll swap.
Swap around.
All right. Hi, Chris.
How no.
France?
No, unfortunately not. Manchester it is.
Oh, Manchester.
So yeah, just a couple of different things. You've inspired a whole generation of guitar players. In my personal view, you know, the guitar players that have sort of like changed the way the guitar's being played, Jimi Hendrix, and then later Eddie Van Halen, and then I think yourself in the modern generation. So
I can live up to that.
who actually inspires you personally to, you know, keep coming up with new things and you know, influences you still?
Well, the thing that inspires me the most is when I see an artist that continues to evolve and continues to break down the, you know, the identity that people make for them, and find things that are just still vital and beautiful. Like one of my favorite artists, perhaps my favorite artist, is Tom Waits, which has, you know, his music has nothing to do with what I do, but I just adore his music, you know, and he's an inspiration, because here is a guy that, you know, he lives a relatively simple life, but he's just so brilliant and simple, you know. But he captures these atmospheres, and every song on every record just has a different atmosphere to it, you know. And he can change his voice, and the lyrics are so, you know, colorful and insightful and beautiful. So that's the kind of thing that inspires me. But I look all over for inspiration. You know, I mean, there's no parameters. Other guitar players can be very inspirational to me. Unknown guitar players even, you know, singers, cultural music. But really the thing that's most inspiring to anybody is probably the events that happen in their life.
Yeah.
You know, because they can change your whole perspective of life can change in 1 second from something that happens, you know, and that changes the way you approach your own creative nature.
Excellent. You've worked with many fantastic musicians before, you know, going back to the early days with Zappa and Alcatraz, David Lee Roth, obviously yourself and G3. Is there any particular moment when you've been working with another group of musicians where you really think, you know, that was a good lineup in a band?
Oh, I've been in so many. There's so many great lineups.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup I have right now, my band is just stellar, you know. My last band, even with the 2 violin players, that's one of my favorites, you know. The Eamon Smile band with Dave Roth and Billy Sheehan and Greg Bissonette, that was just tons of fun. And then you know, the Zappa bands, they were just really great. There was this one project I did years ago. It was for a project called The Music of West Side Story, and it was Chick Corea's electric band versus Steve Vai's Monsters. It was the song Rumble, and it was composed with these two bands kind of like fighting against each other.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and the guys that were called in were just astonishing musicians. I mean, Chick Corea, you know, they were bafflingly good. That was really great.
Excellent. Crossroads, the legendary guitar duel. Ry Cooder on the slide, you playing Jack Butler.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and were you particularly involved with the concept originally with the film and everything?
Well, no, the film was written by somebody, and then they were filming it. You know, they had basically filmed most of the movie, and Ry was doing the soundtrack because he does a lot of soundtracks.
Yeah.
And in the script, it called for this guitar head cutting duel. It was like, you know, the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
You know that movie, that whole brand. Well, they had taken that because they have Ralph Macchio, and they applied it to this story about a blues kid that played classical guitar, you know, or a classical guitar player that played blues, you know, and he had to find his soul. He had to find the last song, like, you know. You see the film,
Yeah,
but
yeah. The final ones are Robert Johnson.
yeah, Robert Johnson. Sorry, but what happened was Ry Cooder was looking for a guitar player to use in this duel. And he was trying out a lot of different people, but they were turning into these jams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When the script actually called for this battle that built and built, you know? So he called Guitar Player Magazine and he said, I'm doing this thing. Who's the new hot shot guitar player on the block?
Yeah.
And they played him the Attitude song, which is from one of my solo records, Flexible, over the phone. So Ry said, okay, that's the guy. And he called me up and he came and visited me, which was a stunner, because Ry Cooder, you know, I was a big fan, and here he is at my house, you know. And he gave me the script, and he said, "Do you think you can do this?" And I said, "Yeah, I really get this." So we went into the studio and we built the duel. You know what I mean? And like, you know, there's one part in the script where it said, you know, Jack Butler, who's this very dark kind of a character, you know, plays the guitar and makes it sound like a train. So I thought, I know how to do that. Just tune it down, gunk on, you know.
Not bad horsey.
Yeah, it ended up being bad horsey because
Yeah.
I couldn't let that riff go to waste. You know? So, you know, and all of the riffs, every back and forth was actually written in the script, and I just followed the script and I said, okay, I know what, you know. And then we recorded the whole duel, and the director came in. I wasn't planning on being in the film. You know, but then the director came in, Walter Hill, and he heard it, and he was really knocked out. And he said, you interested in playing the part of Jack Butler? And I had never done any acting, you know, and they had asked me 3 times, you know, and because I like good acting. Do you know what I mean? I love good actors. I love going to films and stuff like that. But whenever I'm acting, I feel stupid because it's fake. You know, I feel like I'm just making believe. And a great actor, it's like an art, you know. So I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. You know, I mean, I did have the capability of projecting heavy darkness. Because I was a very intense guy at the time, you know. And
no dialogue.
No dialogue, I didn't have to talk. Imagine if Jack Butler just went, "I'm gonna kill you." You know, and look out, here I come. So anyway, I did the part, and they liked it. It was a pretty powerful part. But one of the things I noticed was because I started getting offers then to do more acting.
Right. Yeah.
So I started taking some acting classes, and I just realized, you know, that it wasn't for me. Because it's an art, and it takes a focus, and some people are very natural at it, and maybe I was natural for that character. But doing that movie, that one 7 or 12, 11-minute scene, whatever it was, excuse me, it took 15-hour days.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, you get all set up, you know, and they print you and they get all, you know, they, okay, ready? And you're like, okay, action. And you just get your mojo on, you know, and then like 10 seconds into it, cut, okay, next angle. And then you're waiting an hour and a half and they're doing all this stuff again. And then you, action, and then you're just about to, you know, get your nut and then cut, okay, great, next scene. And it's like, what, this is no life. You know, I mean, compared to what it feels like to be on a stage for 3 hours blowing up the bridge with no cut, you know, it's real. You know, it's like when I'm performing, I feel alive. You know, I feel like hyper aware of everything. You know, and it's like walking a tightrope. You know, and you know, good actors they do that too, but I just much preferred stage and playing music. Yeah, and then all the roles that were coming my way were for these really dark characters, because Jack Butler was such a darky. You know, he was just so mean. So I'm getting like, you know, the parts of being like serial killers and murderers and all this. I'm like, oh, you. So that was my. I did some other acting after that, but nothing too. You know.
Nothing like Jack Butler.
No, like old Jack.
Well, just one more question, and then we'll leave you to the rest of your day. And you set up in 1999 your own record label.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at who you've got on your roster. You've got like Annie Timmons, Eric Johnson, Eric Sardinas. Setting up your own label, does that give yourself and your artists a lot more control over what they want to do? You know, for releasing albums, touring, or whatever? Does it give a lot more hands-on what they want to do without having to be on somebody else's path?
It's according to the artist. You know, most artists, and especially the artists for Favored Nations, the only ones I would sign were artists that I felt had a very independent voice and a strong vision for what they wanted to achieve and what their art was. You know, it's not like I was going into the studio saying, "No, that song, no, not that." You know, I mean, there was some artists that would, you know, I'd work with, and I'd give my 2 cents, but for the most part, they were very independent. You know, I just stayed out of the way and created a distribution network for them.
Yeah.
So those kinds of artists have always been independent. You know, most artists are relatively independent in their mind. You know, they make the music that they're best at, and a wise label signs those artists for the thing that they do best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as far as the artists of Favored Nations, the thing that was different was the deals. You know, they were profit shares. They weren't these convoluted, conventional, almost criminal, you know, record deals that are really lopsided. You know, and that's one of the reasons I started the label. You know, I didn't want to just talk the talk. And I understand the infrastructure of the music business, and I actually like the music business very much. You know, it's a very creative business, and you know, you work with the right people, it's really great, you know. And if you have that perspective and you know the ins and outs and you know how to circumnavigate people taking advantage of you, it's good, it's great, you know. So for my artists, I just virtually lent a service. For me, as an artist on my own label, you know, it's very different. You know, when I'm on on Sony or something, you know, the artist gets a big advance, they make the record, they give it to the label, and the label just does whatever they do. You know, they do certain promotion, you know, and you know, you have to they recoup most of the costs from your royalty, and then you get a royalty. But with me, you know, being an independent artist, I had to come up with all the upfront money to record my records, and then pay for the manufacturing and pay for the distribution and the marketing. But it gave me a lot of freedom, not artistically, because I always had artistic freedom.
Yeah.
Even at Sony, you know, they'd be like, okay, VAI's giving us a record, you know, whatever it is, just take it and put it out, you know. I'm not going to try to tell him to write a hit song, you know, or try to get his music on the radio or anything like that, you know. So I've always had total artistic freedom, The where I have more artistic freedom, but it's my label, is if I want to do a beautiful package with a 32-page booklet, and you know, have it open up and, you know, have lights come out of it. I can do anything I want, but I pay for it.
Yeah.
But there's a very creative aspect to marketing, you know, because marketing can be a lot of fun. You know, you sit and you think, well, how can I, you know, buy into these programs? Maybe we'll create this program. Oh, yeah, and then let's do this. You know, you can't really do that at a major. You know, they say, okay, here's the interviews. You do these. We'll send out the press release. This is VAI, so just make sure the music magazines know that he has something out, and then forget it. You know, and they don't have to spend money at radio, which is really expensive and risky. So they always did good with me. But I have freedom now to do all the various kinds of cool marketing. And the upside is that, you know, at a label, I'll give you an example. You know, most conventional record deals, if you have a good one and you're the artist, maybe you make $1 a record. That's a really good deal, you know. When I sell a record to a store, I get whatever the store pays, you know, $7, $8, you know. And like with downloads, people are so, a lot of artists are very freaked out about the download crisis, you know. It's all your perspective, you know. I always look at any emerging technology, because technology is always going to emerge, new technology, as an opportunity. And the digital revolution is a windfall opportunity for artists if they only see it as such. You know, because now you can, in 10 minutes, you can make all your music available around the world in every digital store. And you can get paid 100%, basically, of what comes in. You know, I'll just give you an example. You'll probably edit a lot of this out, and that's quite all right, but you got me on a roll. If you go to iTunes and in America, you download a song for 98 cents, you know, iTunes has this great policy. They take a percentage and then they pay out the same to everybody. It's like 71 cents. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be the Beatles, you can be Sony, Universal, or you can be Steve Vai, or you can be you. You get the same. And that was that was a brilliant stroke of Steve Jobs, because he didn't have to change for anybody. You know, so like when you know, a major label comes along and says, well, you know, we want this, he just says, no. You know, when the Beatles or somebody comes along and says, well, we want to do this, just says, no. Well, then you can't have our music. Okay, fine. You know, and I don't know if that was necessarily the scenario, the true case, but as you hear, you know.
Yeah.
So he leveled the playing field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because of the convoluted language that's in most conventional record deals, someone like Steve Vai, you go to one of my Sony-controlled records and you download a song, and Sony gets 72 cents or 71 cents from iTunes. Because of the way deals are structured, you know, from past, you know, Steve Vai would probably get 4 cents. You know what I mean? And that's not even a bad deal. I mean, it's an awful deal, but in consideration of what's conventional, it's not even a bad deal. But if I put something up on iTunes, I get 72 cents. So word to the young, aspiring, independent musician, do your homework, figure a little bit out about the business, and protect your intellectual property, and you will make much more now, even with people trading files, which is just a blip in the radar, you know, than you would with a conventional record deal.
I think you bring up a good point with the downloads, and you know, and making your own package, you know, with something really desirable. Because a lot of people say the download is killing the record industry, whereas I see it, you know, if you make your package more desirable, then you're not going to download a 32-page booklet.
Yeah, and it's relative, because, you know, an artist that has sold, you know, 1 million CDs before downloads, when the digital revolution hit, a lot of fans are going back and buying that CD in digital format. They're making free money.
Yeah.
Or I should say the label is.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time. Cheers, Steve.
Thank you.